Woo. Hey everybody, Jim Sammons here. Welcome to the Kayak Fishing Show live. As always, brought to you by Ballast Point Brewing Company. Gonna have my favorite one here, Sculpin IPA. Actually, I think I've got a grapefruit Sculpin. So cheers to you all. Thanks for joining us. Got a good show here. Actually some pretty good news here in San Diego. Our governor was threatening to close our beaches. Basically, we've been open for 4 days and said he was going to close all the beaches in California again because a few areas basically weren't following the rules. But then he came on the news about an hour ago and said, those beaches up north in Orange County are going to close, but we're keeping San Diego open because the people in San Diego were following the rules. So I'm really happy about that. At least we can go walk down the beach, go surf fishing, can drag your kayaks across the beach and go and launch, go surfing, whatever you want to do. So really happy about that. So there it come back. So really excited to have a great show here today. We're going to be airing episode 2 of season. Wow, I keep having some dropouts. Actually, I'm going to bring Ken up really quick because he's there, and I want to wonder if he sees me dropping out. Hi, Ken.
Hey, you're dropping out.
Did you see me dropping out of there too?
Yes, it was the best part of the show so far.
Okay, I'm going to drop you back out, Ken. Smart Alec. So yeah, I'm really excited. Like I said, this is from season 1, episode 2. And as you saw, that was my producer of my show, Ken Whiting. It's not often I get control over Ken, so that was kind of fun dropping him out of there. This backdrop behind me has a little special meaning. That's actually the top of the rapid where I did almost drown, where Ken tried to kill me. So we're going to have some great stories and fun and talk about that. Let me get rid of that so it's not so distracting across the bottom of the screen. But of course, those are all our great sponsors. I know we've got a couple of comments from people. Liam saying hi. Cosmic Bear saying cheers, and that's also watching from Kayak Fishing Tales. So those people who are watching on Facebook, if you prefer, you can also watch on YouTube. Pamela Worth, how are you? Good to see you on here again. Richard Martin, I don't know if there were rules. I don't know what that means. And John Moy, hey, how you doing, man? So anyway, yeah, quite honestly, there has been broadcasting issues lately because so many people are streaming right now. And actually, my wife is in the house, and I know she was in a meeting online as well. So she may be stepping on the hose a little bit. But anyway, with no further ado, I'll bring Ken back up. Ken, how are you?
Oh, thank you. You've been waiting to do that, haven't you?
Well, like I said, it's so rare that I actually have the control over you. So that was a fun one. Like I said, you're the one who tried to kill me. But before we get really into the upcoming episode, I did put this link up. So if anybody wants to click on that link, that's to a YouTube video that Heliconia, Ken's company, just put out today. And, you know, mine was a near-death drowning. The video they put out today of these guys from his TV show Epic Trails, right? This is from Epic Trails?
Yeah.
Yeah. It is scary. It is
almost
scary.
Another drowning.
Yeah, almost another drowning, but in a really crazy way. Yeah. Flash flood through a canyon. I mean, scary stuff, and something a lot of people could learn from. So if you want to see a cool video, guys, I highly recommend you check that video out, and that link right there will take you to the YouTube channel. So anyway, Ken, we've been doing this a long time now, man. Yeah, cheers for sure. Can't do a cheers without taking a drink, man.
Yeah, I mentioned before.
Whitewater Brewing Company up there.
How appropriate for today.
People don't know, Ken is in Ottawa, Canada, right near the Ottawa River. You're actually in Beachburg.
Yep.
So, but we've been doing this a long time now. We've been shooting for at least 12 years.
Yeah.
It's because we started with the DVDs.
Yeah.
We've got over 135 episodes on TV.
Yeah. Crazy.
So yeah, it's amazing how far it's gone, and you know, hopefully we can just keep this thing chugging along.
Yeah.
That's my plan anyway. Of course, the way things are right now, who knows what we're doing?
Yeah, well, it might be doing some shows in your backyard. Well, maybe that's it. Well, they did open the beaches, so
yeah. So we'll do all of our shows from San Diego Bay and La Jolla.
Just you GoProing yourself and going out and shooting some distanced video.
Right. Something to keep it fun. But so let's go back. This is our very first year of shooting. It's the second episode, but it was like the third or fourth shoot, I think.
Yeah.
Back then, you used to be on quite a bit of shoots. We aired the first episode last week, which was Baja. The very first Baja. We got the 2 marlin, and you got your first rooster fish.
Yeah.
But yeah, you used to come on a lot of shoots. Yeah.
And well, then I got to know you more and more.
Yes.
No, we were way overdue. That's for sure.
No, I would love it if once we do get rolling again to get you back on a shoot, because it's always fun. Always fun. And if people again watched us last week, the Baja stuff, we did some kayak surfing. You can see a little bit of Ken's kayaking skills there. Catches a wave, surfs it in backwards. You'll see some amazing paddling skills from Ken and Brendan. Brendan's Ken's partner. And Brendan does the squirt boating where his kayak goes underwater and he twirls around. And so you'll see some pretty cool kayaking skills. None from me. You'll see me kind of doing the hand of God trying to reach, and Ken actually saves me. But
that's not true. You actually, I have to admit, you impress both Brendan and I when you're out there. Paddling in those types of conditions, that type of powerful, high volume whitewater is not easy. Doing it in a sit on top boat, it's not designed for that. There's no sit on top that's really, there's a couple that are designed somewhat for it, but no fishing kayak. And so it was not an easy thing to do, and you actually did. We wouldn't have taken you down that first rapid if you hadn't done as well as you were doing.
Yeah, but it was the first rapid. It literally was the first rapid I had run.
It was.
And the thing was, it literally, I mean, you said after the fact, is like, I could have run down that rapid 1,000 times and just washed all the way down. I just happened to hit that right spot, and
the level was just right for it. It goes, this very small window when that hole is that sticky, but
I stuck. Well, and the fact that, again, there were some mistakes made, and I'm not sure, because I haven't actually watched this in forever.
Yeah, it's a long time.
There were mistakes made. I was wearing a PFD that wasn't mine, and I didn't cinch it down the way I normally do. So when I went in the water, my PFD rose up high on me. And the other mistake basically was I didn't have thigh straps. I think if I had had thigh straps on the kayak, I would have had a better chance of staying on top. The boat basically hit and stuck, and I shot off the front.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, we'll see it in there. There's some laughs. There's some good stuff. But we also did some great fishing, and the fishing up there is amazing. But let's get this video going, and we can sit back and make some comments on it as we go. And I as much as I love the new intro, and I really love the new intro song, by Brock, the old intro brings back some great memories.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's let her roll.
This week on the Kayak Fishing Show, I'm heading to the Ottawa River in Canada to try my hand at whitewater kayak fishing.
And you can hear it?
Whitewater kayakers, Ken Whiting.
Okay. Oh, this is going to be frustrating if that hangs up.
Brendan Mark. Stay tuned. Near-death experiences and big pike lay around every corner.
At the forefront of any sport, you inevitably find someone pushing the limits.
Wow, I haven't seen this intro in a while.
Exploding in
No,
popularity.
it's been a long time.
Jim Sammons has been doing just that.
Yeah, look at these. Nice.
From the seat of his ocean kayak, Jim challenges the world's top.
That was that very first shoot in Boca Grande.
To the ultimate test.
Yeah,
Never
some
fought a kayak
stories
without
there.
a fish.
From freshwater to saltwater, Jim's mission is simple.
I always point out that that was before drones, too.
Yeah.
That was actually from an airplane.
Yeah.
The Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you in part by Ocean Kayak, makers of the Trident series of fishing kayaks. Ex Officio.
Can you still get a Trident?
Adventurous Spirit.
Yeah.
Scotty.
Yeah.
The Way to Fish.
They're still around. Well, they redid them, but they
Nothing
still
takes
basically
to the water
around.
like Standard Horizon.
I think.
Maui Jim.
Yeah.
Eliminate glare. Turn up the color. And the Heliconia Press. Cutting edge outdoors media. This week, Jim heads northeast to the mighty Ottawa River, where he's hooking up with local anglers Ken Whiting and Brendan Mark for a totally new type of kayak fishing challenge.
Look how young he
Jim
looks.
will brave the raging rapids of the Ottawa River for his first taste of whitewater kayak fishing. The mission is simple. By navigating their way through the rapids, Jim, Ken, and Brendan will access lakes, bays, and river corridors that have, in most cases, never seen a lure before. With the Ottawa River being renowned for its bass, walleye, pike, and muskie fishing, they're pretty sure they're going to find some out-of-this-world fishing holes. Although Jim is very experienced paddling in the surf break of the San Diego area, whitewater is a bit of a different beast altogether, but he's hooked up with the right guys for the job.
The guys who want to kill me.
World champion whitewater kayaker and the author of books about kayaking technique.
It wasn't premeditated.
Traveling around the world, competing on an international circuit and exploring new rivers, Ken and his wife Nicole settled back on the Ottawa River, a place they've considered home for a long time.
So my background is whitewater kayaking. I started whitewater kayaking about 18 years ago or so. When I was lucky, I got to start young, and learned all about this river. Probably know the bottom of this river as well as anyone, even without a fish finder, just because spending so much time on this river. So when I got into fishing, it was a huge advantage. I just know the river so well.
Brendan Mark is also a world champion kayaker who grew up in the banks of the Ottawa River. Similar to Ken, Brendan settled back on the Ottawa
Now,
River
people
with
pay
his family,
attention to this
but
move
unlike
that Brendan's
Ken,
going to do
Brendan has
here.
held
It's
a fishing
crazy.
rod longer than he's held a kayak paddle.
I've been a kayaker for about 15 years, competitive on the national and world scale for about 8 years. Stopped doing that
Mystery
years
move.
ago. And
That's what it's called.
since my first
The kayak is
trip
made to sink.
a cottage that
It's
we
called a
had.
mystery move, and you
Fun.
just corkscrew yourself down
About 2.5
where the
years.
two currents collide.
What we have planned for Jim
This is the weirdest looking thing.
taking him down through all the sections that
Yeah,
we fish.
easiest feeling in the world.
He's never paddled whitewater in his life, so it'll be interesting to see how he fares out. I'm sure he's got great balance for breaking through surf, but there's also dealing with whitewater. You got currents coming in from the sides. You got a lot of other elements that come into play when you're dealing with whitewater.
And you guys make it look so stinking
Right
easy.
back where I grew up. Heck I could be living with my parents if they didn't sell their house.
This might have been
The
our,
rapids are big and the tension is high.
I don't know,
Dreams of untouched fishing holes
2000th run
Brendan and
down
Ken
these
through the raging
rapids with
whitewater,
you.
putting his skills and courage to the ultimate test.
I guess that's the commercial break.
That's the commercials.
So let's see. We've got any comments or questions or anything. Well, Jamie says he's looking for an American-made fishing pole. Any recommendations? You know, it's funny. There's a lot of stuff regionally. Bring us back up. So, you know, it really kind of depends on what you're looking for, and of course, you know, what style of fishing, because there's just so much. Like here in California, a lot of guys will use CalStar and Seeker, and those are made here in California. And honestly, I'm not sure about other areas. You know, like I said, it's just, and they specifically make stuff for saltwater, heavier stuff. So if you're looking for bass gear, it's a whole different ball game. My rods that I use are from Century Rods. They are actually the blanks are made in England, but they are put together in Virginia. So very, very cool stuff. Anthony says, beautiful footage, guys. Thank you. I mean, and we've always had that. And that's been one of the cool things, is that we've always had great videographers. And, you know, especially when we kind of up the game and we get a couple guys on a shoot, which really, really makes it really nice to have one guy focused on like slow motion and close-ups and one guy getting the bigger picture. So you guys do good, Ken. You hire good guys. Of course, you know, Will Richardson was my videographer pretty much exclusively from day one up until about, was it 2 years ago now?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
And he stepped away, still does a little bit of shooting. He can step in, but he's working for Jackson Kayak. So brought in a couple other guys who also are phenomenal and, you know, just really talented guys. The problem is most of them are all Canadians. And so I have a hard time understanding them. They talk funny.
But they like the water. You have to like the water.
Yeah. Everybody's a waterman or an outdoors guy. Richard, Federation, in your opinion, what is the best fishing kayak? I would assume your favorite is your design Kraken, of course. And I have one and love it. What would be a couple of other great options for offshore kayak fishing? Well, offshore, you know, like I said, in the Jackson line, of course, the Kraken, the Cuda HD, I really liked. Paddles pretty well, a little bit more stable, has that standability. I don't know about getting through the surf, but I tell you what, once you're outside, that blue sky is a kick in the butt to fish off of. One of the most fun platforms I've been on. And of course, maybe the boat you're seeing here, like the Ocean Kayak still makes a good offshore boat. I think Wildy still makes a good offshore boat. You know, there's a lot of great brands out there and a lot of great kayaks. The best thing you can do is go out and try some different ones. You've been paddling a lot of more touring boats, right, Ken? Yeah,
not good for fishing.
Yeah,
they're just too narrow and unstable. But yeah, I really haven't paddled a good offshore and a new good offshore. Had the opportunity to try any of the new offshore boats lately.
Yeah, and
where we are, we're lake and river fishing, so
right.
We want so many short maneuverable.
So many of the boats now are certainly everybody seems to want pedal boats. So
yeah.
You know, so the big Hobies and the bigger Jacksons now. Jackson's got so many different boats now, the Bite. So if you're a paddler, you can still, although the Kraken is technically discontinued, they do still have some. So you can still kind of special order some stuff. And the plan is hopefully that they will do like a once a year run of them. So we can get a bunch of special orders in and then run them all at one time.
Ooh.
Pam Worth, are you ever going to Los Buzos, Panama? I have been to Los Buzos. You know, we've been to Panama at least five times while shooting the show. Ken, you were on the very first one with Pesca Panama. We've been with Pesca Panama, Paddle Panama, and Los Buzos. And Los Buzos, as far as just a dialed in place for kayak fishing, it's amazing. It really is an amazing place. We had a really hard trip there. It was very windy, as always. And the baits we had, I mean, were literally 8-pound bonita. I mean, we had no smaller bait at all. So you had to let your fish eat it. And then once they ate it, they were in the rocks. So we had a tough trip, but I know it's an amazing place and I would love to go back for sure. Okay, let's get going on the next segment. Watch me almost die. It's got to be in this segment, I'm thinking. And it's all Ken's fault.
Well, for overestimating you.
Yeah, overestimated my skills.
That was my fault.
Ken Whiting and Brendan Mark and braves the raging rapids of Canada's Ottawa River for his first taste of whitewater kayak fishing. The Ottawa River is not only home to some world-class bass, walleye, pike, and muskie fishing, but it's one of eastern Canada's main freshwater arteries and acts as the border between the provinces of Ontario and Quebec for much of its 800 miles. The river is so big and wide at points that it's often mistaken for a lake, but there's no mistaking the Ottawa River for a lake where it narrows and forms into a series of impressive rapids. But an hour west of Ottawa, Canada's capital city, you can find a particularly wild section of whitewater called the Rocher-Fendue section. This section is known internationally for having world-class whitewater rafting and kayaking, and it's here that Jim hooks up with world champion whitewater kayakers, become obsessed kayak anglers, Ken Whiting and Brendan Mark.
We're here in my backyard on the Ottawa River. This is the Rocher-Fendue section. Ooh, there we go. The prevalent activity in this area is whitewater rafting.
Now, what was that kayak?
Fantastic fishing.
A caper.
Not many people do it here.
Oh, yeah, that was the butt soaker. That's all I remember about that boat. You just sat in a puddle.
It's hard to access these bays because you need to either portage around rapids or else be willing to run.
But it was a fun little boat.
Oh, it was maneuverable.
Plan with Jim is
if you could deal with the butt rash.
2 channels on the Ottawa River. Yeah, main channel and the middle channel, both high water, big volume, with great fishing spots all the way through. And plan with Jim will be really to keep an eye out for him and keep him out of too much trouble.
Oh, there he goes.
Work him. So right now we are about to head down the middle channel of the Ottawa. The Ottawa River splits into 2 channels just down below us. We've got about 6 rapids we got to get through, but by going through these rapids, we get access to some lakes and some bays that otherwise are inaccessible.
That's a nice pike.
Provides some fantastic, virtually untouched fishing.
September is an ideal time for whitewater kayak fishing. The water is warm, the river is low and more forgiving, and the fish are nearly always biting hard. But even though the water is at a more forgiving level, there's no such thing as easing into whitewater kayak fishing. The first rapid of the day is one of the biggest, and that's where Jim's adventures begin.
The first rapid of the day happens before the river splits into its 2 channels. And that rapid's called McCoy's. And we knew it was the biggest water, the biggest rapid that Jim was going to have to contend with. So we chose the most conservative line aside from portaging. And Jim was gung-ho. So we watched the 2 rafts go through first. And
look at that raft stuck in the hole.
Every which way.
Someone's still in it.
Guts of it too.
Look at that, holding on.
Booster for him. He said, you know what? I can swim through this thing. It doesn't look that bad.
Oh, shit.
Swimming through beautifully. Great angle.
The raft's still there.
Better than I expected. I expected it to be upside down before he came through. And so he went over and swam. But he rallied, got back on the boat, held his paddle, rolled the boat upright, jumped back on. It was, it really was impressive how quick he got on it. He was.
Now you said go that way.
And he fell over.
He's stuck in the hole. Yep.
Go get him, Jim! Didn't have the PFD on as tight as I should.
Go get him, Ken, he says.
Got a bubble in my head when I went in the water, and I just couldn't breathe. And I mean, I was scared. I mean, I'm not afraid to admit or too proud to admit that I was really scared.
There's my hand up above the water. Still makes my palms sweat.
Ken's got him. Nice rescue, Ken. Yeah, Ken's in it.
Yeah, Brendan back there. Ken's effed. Ken's effed.
Oh.
No, they're okay.
Luckily, Ken got up there, and I swear we could have seen
Oh.
happen, 99 times out of 100, and it wouldn't have went as smoothly as it did.
My favorite part.
Yeah. I'm going to pause it right there. There was a raft that had gone down, and you saw that raft that got stuck, and everybody swam, and it was a bunch of like high school age girls. And they were all standing on the bank right where they were pulling me up. So basically, my pants are down around my knees. My butt is just out there for all day. So,
And you didn't have the energy to even think about pulling your pants up. You're just like, is my butt
laid their face down.
Yeah, that was understandably whooped. You got a whooping.
Yeah.
Old school whooping.
Yeah, and it felt like it lasted so long, and it was probably 30 seconds or something, but it felt like I was in there for 5 minutes.
Yeah, that whole time though, you really didn't get a breath. I mean, part of it because of the life jacket wasn't on properly, and it wasn't on tight enough. It was on properly, but just not tight enough. And but also it's just so aerated, it's hard to get. It's a crappy situation to be in.
Yeah. Well, thankfully you were able to. What just happened? Wow.
It's still going on my end.
Okay, the whole thing just dropped off my screen for a second and then popped back up. Yeah, that was it was scary and exhausting. They said that thankfully you were there and you had the ability to side surf it in there and kind of drag me out. There was also the threat that if I held onto your kayak too hard, you were just going to slam me on the head. Let me.
I don't know if you remember that. I remember it very clearly, still being in there once I got pulled in with you, side surfing, and you were on the upstream side of me, which means the water coming downstream was just pounding into you and directly, and you couldn't hold on for long. It was a losing battle, and I couldn't do anything with you there. And I was just like, dude, you have to let go and go down. You have to let go and go down, because you can't just swim out. You have to. And you're like looking at me like, you want me to do what? Let go of the life preserver and go underwater?
Yeah, I'm not letting go.
But yeah, you didn't have a choice. The water just hit. I just remember it just pounding on your shoulders as your head held there. It pulled you off my boat in the end. I think you didn't have a choice.
Yeah, you were hitting my hands with the paddle.
that was next.
Let's get this thing going.
Can I show my ass right now?
Yeah, totally.
Get your breath back. That is extreme. That is gnarly, man. Those rapids are just good fun if you don't die.
What was amazing is he rallied. He got back on. Once he caught his breath and chilled out for a while, he got back in his boat and started fishing again.
Oh, it's on! All right. Oh, he came up fast. Gappy.
Lord, it's rainy day. Spider soldier, my window pay. There's a dog out barking across the road.
I heard that fish.
Lordy, it's rainy
Almost
day.
died from that fish.
Mice in the kitchen, there's wind in the pines. Whiskey in my belly and you on my mind. Living ain't living if you ain't mine.
spoon right over there, and they wind it in. Cast over there, and they wind it back here.
And this was my first experience ever really dealing with pike, even.
Yeah. And you dealt with a lot of them. We caught a lot of pike.
And that's a quality one Brendan's got there.
I remember that one. That was perfectly poached by him right in front of me.
Brendan is the big poacher.
Oh.
When most people look at whitewater, they see a chaotic mess of waves and current. But to the trained eye, whitewater is actually fairly predictable. By learning to read whitewater, not only can you fish in and around current more safely, but you'll also develop a better understanding of where you can expect to find the fish. That's why the basics of current is the topic of this week's Ocean Kayaking Tip with Ken Whiting.
Simplified, flowing rivers can be broken into two parts. You have the main current, and then you have eddies. The main current is just that. It's the main flow of water heading downstream. Eddies.
This is back when both of our entire wardrobe was ex officio.
When it was?
I still have a lot of it.
Oh.
So what happens when eddies are formed is that the main current hits the obstruction, in this case the rock in the middle of the flow. It gets deflected off of it, and then this low pressure zone in behind the rock, which isn't getting filled by the main current, is filled by water that comes back upstream. And this calm pool is the eddy. Where the main current and the eddy current collide, you get eddy lines. And the eddy lines are very identifiable because you find whirlpools and any other funny water, which is really unstable to be in a kayak. Now here's something else to consider. These eddies are also caused on the vertical plane. So let's say you have a ledge in the river or a boulder. The current isn't just going to flow and contour the river bottom. What it's going to do is it's going to flow past that drop off, and then it's going to circle back and fill that void. And this calm area here behind the ledge or drop off is a perfect spot for a fish to hang out and wait for a meal to come by on the conveyor belt. And that's why fish finders are actually great things to use on flowing rivers. Not so much to find the fish, but to find these drop-offs. On a final note, if you're going to kayak fish in and around flowing rivers, stick to light current. Moving water is surprisingly powerful, and you get yourself in a lot of trouble.
Really?
Very quickly if you don't know what you're doing. Until next time, I'm Ken Whiting, and that's your Ocean Kayaking Tip.
For more tips and your chance to win a fantastic kayak fishing package that includes an Ocean Kayak Trident fishing kayak and Maui Jim sunglasses, visit kayakfishingshow.com.
This prize is not available at this time.
Makes their way downstream through the raging rapids of the Ottawa River in search of the ultimate untouched fishing hole. The Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you in part by
It is
Ocean
neat to see
Kayak,
this from 12 years ago or 11 years ago.
Scotty, Maui Jim,
Yeah.
Standard Horizon, and the Heliconia
But again,
Press.
shot before that because this was part of the first DVD.
Yeah, that's right. This was this is probably our second. What episode was this? Second episode, wasn't it?
Second episode.
Yeah, this is the second TV episode we ever produced, and not just for your show, but period. It was marked the beginning, and I think we're now somewhere around 420 shows deep. It's crazy time.
Yeah,
and it doesn't seem that long ago.
I know. It doesn't until you sit back and watch stuff like this, and then it's like, wow, we shot this a long time ago. I mean,
yeah, you didn't look a whole lot different, I have to say.
What?
You didn't really look that much different.
A little gray.
You're aging well, Jim.
Oh, thank you. Let's see. We had some other comments. Jean Wilson. Whoa, Jean. She joins our shows every time. I appreciate it, Jean. She's like the biggest cheerleader for Team Jackson Kayak, and awesome lady. So Dave Massengill, who joins us pretty much every week. I appreciate it, David. Been there, done that on the Kern River. I almost drowned, stuck in a hole for over a minute. I had nightmares for 3 days straight. I understand that. I totally get that. That was probably. I mean, I had some scary moments in huge surf when I used to surf, but this was definitely one of the scariest things that ever happened to me while on the water. It was Anthony. Did my feet get trapped? No, it was just a recirc, a hole. I mean, can you describe how that works, Ken?
Whoa, this.
Or let me.
So
I'll give you the whole screen.
Oh, how about that? Still, it's backwards. But yeah, when water is flowing downstream and it flows over some obstacle, a rock or a ledge, it gains speed as it drops over, and then it creates this low pressure zone where the water actually has to come back up on the surface, is filling in that hole. It's moving upstream, and so you get this recirculating motion. So the water that's actually going downstream is taking the low road. It's going along the riverbed. The water on the surface is actually moving upstream into the hole. And that's how you get this recirculating effect. So in this case, actually, Jim's life jacket, the buoyancy, and him swimming, trying to stay on the surface, is keeping him in the water that's moving upstream, keeping him in that hole. Whereas, the best thing to have done there is actually, when he hit the green water, is to go with it, go down and take that undercurrent right out. But I mean, that's works great in theory, but when you're getting your butt kicked, and the last thing you're thinking is go down.
Right. Yeah, you're trying to get a breath of air, and then and the proper thing is to actually go underwater. It doesn't work, particularly for someone
unless you really know. Unless
for somebody on their very first rapid, no, it ain't gonna happen. Let's see. Yeah, Dave, I did live to fish another day and actually ended up catching fish. And I will say, I mean, we've pretty much gone back to Canada every year. I think we've done a shoot in Canada pretty much every year, whether it's in BC or Northwest Territories or what. And I love it up there, man. We always have amazing trips. That very first trip we did on the 7-day trip, I think it was, on the Petawawa.
Oh, wow.
I mean, one of the coolest trips ever. Except this is another one when Ken tried to kill me. But the way he tried to kill me on this one, and he probably doesn't remember, he tried to kill me via hypothermia.
Oh.
Because it got so freaking cold. It was below freezing at night. And Ken says, don't worry about it. I got all the camping gear, sleeping bags, yada, yada, yada. I'll supply everything for this 7-day trip. And we get there, and the first night, and set up tent, roll up my sleeping bag. It comes to like here on my chest. it was like a small woman's sleeping bag. I think it was Nicole's. And I think I wore every single piece of clothing I had and tried to curl up into a little ball in that sleeping bag. So you have a history of trying to kill me, Ken.
Doesn't work.
Let's see. Oh, Gene says, great content. It's my pleasure. Well, it's always pleasure. Eric, our friend from Eric said from Germany, says you remind him of his physics teacher. Ken actually, I mean, to his credit, is a very, very good instructor. I mean, you wrote books on kayaking, and you did instructional DVDs on kayaking. So you're a very, very good instructor. So
used to be. I haven't had to talk about it in a long time.
Have you been whitewater kayaking much?
Yeah, I not much, but every year I get out about half dozen times usually. And to be honest, these days I take out the Jackson Kayak Dynamic Duo for the past 5 years. That's been what I've done the most with my daughter. She loves it. Ever since she's been 4, we take her down. I've taken her down the river, and she loves it. Haven't put a fishing rod in her hand in the whitewater section yet, but that'll be next.
That's cool. That's cool. And there's so much great water up there. I'm not sure if it's in this episode, but we went down that one section, and I think it's in the episode, but it was like going through it wasn't even real. It was like going through a Disneyland
Magic Mystery Tour.
Yeah, that was such a cool little area.
I think it is.
I think it's on here. I don't, like I said, I haven't watched this thing in years. So let's get back to viewing her.
Welcome back to the Kayak Fishing Show with Jim Sammons. This week, Jim connects with Ken Whiting and Brendan Mark and braves the raging rapids of Canada's Ottawa River for his first taste of whitewater kayak fishing.
You need to be a good kayaker to do what we've done. You do need to, like I said, if you're not used to even this particular water, having somebody who's used to running these rapids or running these waters should have somebody there that can guide them through, because like I said, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble. But other than that, what you should do, once you've done that, is just get out here and fish and spend some time on the water. Do like we're doing today, where we've got a full day on the water. We're going to be camping tonight. Just get the whole experience, because it is just, like I said, it's just such a beautiful place.
Anyone who fishes on rivers know that where there's current, there's usually fish, and kayaks provide one of the best ways to target these areas. Of course, there are a few things to know before you go fishing around current in your kayak, so that's what we're going to look at in this week's Ex Officio Kayak Fishing Tip of the Week.
First off, it's important to know what kind of current we're talking about. We're talking about Class 1 water, which is just fast-moving water without any major features like rocks or logs. That means no real waves or obstructions in the river. You can just float your way along. Anything more than Class 1, and taking a river kayaking course pretty much becomes a necessity. Now, there are a few things that are worth talking about.
It's so weird how that eddy line can just grab you and...
Fishing on anchor and current isn't always the best idea.
We call them
but there are
the
times
trolls.
Fishing on anchor can mean the difference between getting fish and not getting fish. If you're going to anchor and current, you
Why
should
they
directly off the bow or stern,
because they reach up and grab the edge of your boat and pull you over.
Oh yeah, they just reach up. You don't know they're there, and then boom.
It's super handy. The problem with anchoring up from the side of your kayak is that your boat will be held sideways to the current, which will allow water to pile up on the side of the boat, which can easily flip you. Another piece of gear that can come in handy when you're fishing in current is thigh straps, because they'll give you a lot more
That's
control.
the Petawawa right there.
Yeah.
Straps clip to
That
the
was a
side of
bump
your
and
kayak
grind.
Over your knees. This basically keeps you more connected to your kayak, which is really nice if you're fishing on swirly eddy lines, which is your kayak getting hit with water from different directions. A last thing worth mentioning is some basic current safety. Thanks to wade fishing, it seems to be ingrained in anglers' heads that you can just stand up and walk around in fast-moving water. The truth of the matter is that most drownings in current
That's
take place in
Montana.
less than 3 feet of water. They're called shallow water drownings, and they're caused by foot entrapments. What happens when people try to stand up in current is they can get their foot trapped between a rock.
I think I was a couple. Yeah, that's Mission Bay. I was a few pounds lighter then.
2 to 3 feet of water, even while wearing a life jacket. And so the rule is simple: if you swim in current, don't try standing up or walking to shore until you're out of the main current. You're better off taking a few bumps on the knee than risking foot entrapment. Until next time, I'm Jim Sammons, and that's your Ex Officio Kayak Fishing Tip of the Week.
For the most comprehensive
Good old
guide
Ex
to kayak
Officio.
fishing,
I miss
pick up
them.
a copy of the Ultimate Guide
Yeah.
to Kayak Fishing at your local outdoor store or at
And a book.
kayakfishingshow.com.
Holy moly!
This truly is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. The Ottawa River. I mean, just these areas. I mean, we've been fishing all day today, caught a bunch of fish, haven't seen another person all day. And it's just absolutely beautiful. The rapids, the trees, it's gorgeous. So I wouldn't hesitate to come back here and fish again, just because it's such a neat experience. And like I said, it's that adrenaline rush of going through the rapids, and then just great fishing. And right in front at the base of that waterfall, you could sit there and fish. I mean, it's so exciting, so much fun. So much fun, and they're great fish too. And we've caught a lot of fish. I mean, these pike are really fun. They're sporty. I mean, they're not the hardest fighting fish in the world, until you get them next to the boat. You try to land them, and then they just go nuts, which is fun.
Mhm.
And then, you know, a lot of little bass and.
All that water in the cockpit certainly adds a lot to the instability of the boat.
Oh yeah. After the first wave, the boat takes on totally different characteristics. Especially if you put the scupper in the butt.
Right.
It doesn't drain. It takes forever.
That's not a bad pike either, right there.
No, not a bad one. I still find it surprising we don't find muskie down the lower section, because a bit further down the Ottawa, there's some of the best muskie fishing in the world. Muskie fishing in the world.
And they know water. They know
Huge
they're
muskie.
just incredible paddlers, and I learned so much from them. It's like it was almost too beautiful. It couldn't be real. All the trees and the rocks were in the exact right place. You know, it was just such an incredibly beautiful location.
There's Brendan jumping ahead to poach a spot.
It's just I can't even say enough about it. Just how much fun this has been. While running the whitewater in Canada, we're using the ocean kayak, Trident 11s, and capers. At 11 feet, they're both great for running rapids, and they're both highly maneuverable, which really helps when you're.
Except the caper had a place to attach thigh straps, which the Trident 11 did not.
Were we using thigh straps?
You guys were.
We were? Oh.
Yeah, you were.
Large hatches so we can get the rods inside the boat when we needed to run some tough rapids. Of course, the Trident with the rod pod made it even easier. The caper has a lower seat, which gives it a lower center of gravity.
I just like the footage, so I'll let it run. But
the Trident has a higher seat, so you have a nice high dry ride. So
the cool thing about, you know,
you can see all
going there and running the rapids, you really were fishing areas that you couldn't get to unless
Next week on the Kayak Fishing Show with Jim Sammons.
Yeah.
Unless you were running the rapids. I mean, you had to do that to get to the fishing spots. And so, I mean, obviously not a ton of pressure because, I mean, I was there. I went with James on the Ottawa last year, and, you know, all you saw the whitewater paddlers go paddling by, you know,
Yeah.
There's nobody fishing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. There's really no public access. You have to either walk around the rapids, which is a pain in the butt, or run them.
Right. Yeah, the portage sucks. So we have a few more comments here. Sierra, why wasn't Brenda invited to the viewing? Brenda was invited. I wanted to have them both on as guests, but Brendo wouldn't do it. So you can give him a hard time.
He's scared of the camera.
He should be. He's not very good.
No.
Eric, Ken, do you think it's harder to ride rapids with a sit on top than a whitewater boat?
Absolutely. Yeah. Having, like Jim mentioned before, as soon as you hit the first wave and the water collects in your boat, even if you have scupper holes, which they all do to drain the water, it takes a while for that water to drain. And so you've just gained, in some cases, maybe not hundreds of pounds, but it's like having a person jump onto your kayak, and now you have to deal with that extra weight
from side to side in there,
and it's shifting around. You're right. Yeah, absolutely. So with a whitewater boat, they're designed specifically for maneuverability in whitewater. It's night and day.
I know, and you remember Kayak Kevin. He's been doing a lot more whitewater, sit on top kayak fishing.
Mhm.
And what he has done basically is he's like the tank well and all that. He fills it up with a bag, and then and having his little room in the cockpit for that water to collect, because that is, you have that, not just your cockpit but your tank well as well, filling up with water. I mean, that's why you saw it. And there's a couple times where I looked like I should be able to stay up, but once all that water shifted to the one side,
you're gone.
It's so hard, and particularly again if you don't have the thigh strap. If you have the thigh straps, you have a little bit more ability to kind of pull it back. But it was tough.
Yeah,
it was so fun. I mean, I absolutely love it there. Mike McKenna says he learned a lot from your book, Kayak Fishing: The Ultimate Guide. Helpful advice and graphics. Yeah, that's something I worked on with you before the DVDs, right? Or was it after that? That was
after.
Was it? I know
that was after, I think.
Because you worked with that with Scott and...
No, that was a different one. Oh, no, it wasn't. Oh, my gosh. This was a long time ago.
Yeah.
We would have stopped doing books probably at 2008, 2007. This would have been one of the last ones. The Ultimate Guide would have been 2007, 2008. So 12, 13 years ago. It would have been right around the time of Game On.
Yeah. Funny. Mike said, did I lose gear when I got goblet? No, I didn't. I actually had everything down inside. That was a nice thing, having interior access on these boats really helped. So
we brought, what did we bring? A rod, one tackle box. We went minimalist.
Yeah, for sure.
You just lose anything else you brought.
Yeah, for sure. So, Ken, we almost have been at this an hour. Took us an hour to watch a 24-minute video. I appreciate it. It's been a long, fun ride. I know there's going to be a lot more episodes that you are in that will be airing. Maybe we can get you back on for those. I'm looking forward to airing the episode. Where were we? Minor Bay Lodge.
Oh my gosh.
Caught so many huge pike. Counting the one day and getting over 100 pike each. And I think by the third day, we fished for 7 days. And by the third day, Will said, I'm fishing. Don't bother me unless you have something huge.
Yeah.
That was a crazy one. So it's been a lot of trips. It's been a lot of fun trips and good times. And without you, I wouldn't have this show for so many years. So I appreciate it.
And likewise.
Really coming on here, man. It was fun. It's fun reliving some of this fun.
Yeah, it has. It's good. And here's to many more good fishing trips.
Sure.
Hopefully one sooner rather than later. We've got a fishing trip coming up and supposed to, Brendan and I, in 2 weeks, but we'll see. Not looking good. It's up in the Quebec wilderness, so it's nowhere near anyone, but still.
Right. Yeah. Oh well. To future good times. Take care, man.
Thanks.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us. I hope you enjoyed watching me almost drown. We had a great time. And I mean, like I said, you have two world champion kayakers with you. When you do stuff like that, at least, you got a pretty good chance of them pulling your butt out of the fire, which Ken did. And like I said, we've had so many great trips since then. So thank you for joining us. If you are still on lockdown, join us every Tuesday and Thursday. We'll be doing these shows every Tuesday and Thursdays. Remember, Tuesdays are the Jackson kayak years. Thursdays are the ocean kayak years, the older stuff. And we're just going to keep bringing these episodes to you. Share them with your friends, get us more views. And that makes it a lot easier. It makes it a lot easier with the sponsors. So you all take care. If you can get on the water, please remember, always wear your PFD. And keep your paddle right side up. You take care.